Hello everyone, welcome back. I apologize for the lateness of this. I was busy at work during the time when this was released, so this is going to be out like a couple days later after it's been released, but I still want to, make a video about it and show it, talk about it. I mentioned how the first chapter, it looked like we were going to be getting some recaps of stuff that was perhaps in books and stuff that maybe we didn't actually get to know about in the game. Well, this time we're more so going to be recapping some of the story of Cataclysm, because as you probably noticed at the end of the first chapter, when we saw Emberthal, she looks to be a Black Dracthyr, which means she probably doesn't know what happened to Mr. Deathwing, which I'm sure Nosdormu was like, yeah, I need to tell you about what happened with him. So, let's watch Chapter 2 of Legacies, and then we can talk about it, shall we?
What is your name, child?
Emberthal, a commander of the Dracthyr. You know of us?
You are a race of fierce warriors, unlike anything Azeroth has seen in many an age. In time, you may become as mighty as we once were.
Once? What happened?
The desire for power carries peril. We were blind to the darkness in our midst. Behold, the Dragon Isles. In the time after our ascension, we Aspects sought to create a beacon of hope for all the world.
Beautiful. Neltharion, my general.
Indeed, we all had our roles to play. Guided by Alexstrasza, our conscience, our heart, we all became as close as clutchmates, or so it seemed. For we could not hear the whispers of corruption that tempted one of our own. When demons invaded our world, we Aspects went forth to protect it as we always had. Not knowing whether we would ever again see the shores of home. Our brother Neltharion led our defense against the invaders. But for the first time, we found our strength inadequate. And we grew desperate. So when Neltharion assured us that with our help, he could forge a weapon to win the war, we placed our trust in him. And we renewed our battle against the demons, only to have Neltharion, who now took the name Deathwing, turn on his own kind. We could not foresee this betrayal, for we simply did not want to believe. Even after all this time, the pain of his treachery is far worse than the scars he left us with.
That is not the leader I remember. How do I know it was not you who provoked him?
You missed much during your confinement, but the sands of time reveal all truths, child, even bitter ones. Trust your eyes. When the champions of Azeroth faced Deathwing for the last time, he was so consumed by madness that he could not imagine what we would sacrifice to stop him. That the weapon we had helped him forge would become the means of his destruction.
Was there no other way?
Deathwing would have destroyed this world. To stop him, we aspects relinquished our power, our immortality, our guardianship of Azeroth itself. A fair trade, I believe.
You want something from me, don't you?
It is my gift and my burden to travel the pathways of time. But there is one crucial moment that has long remained hidden from me. And only you can lead me there.
Gotta get that last second advertisement for pre-purchasing in there at the end, but you can see what I meant by about how this seems to be, a nice little recap, which makes sense. Obviously, we need to get these Dracthyr up to speed on what has happened over time, especially, as I said, she was clearly part of the Black Dragonflight, since she referred to Neltharion as her general, which makes sense. But yeah, it's like, some people may think this is not really an as you know because she doesn't know. This may be an as you know for us, but he's not necessarily doing it that way. He's more so showing her some of the things that she kind of needs to know. But even she is, well, I'll get to that in a second, so. One of the things I like about this is that we sometimes get to see them in ways, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, huh. He did obviously definitely look different when he was the Aspect before he became Deathwing. And then here, we get to actually see them, before he gets his mask on. Look at that. Neltharion looked great. Look at that. I mean, I love the armor. I love these scales up there on his shoulders. I mean, look, we all love to make jokes about the shoulder pads in World of Warcraft, but look at those things. I mean, you could use them as weapons, though. That's the thing. I kind of like that. That's why I kind of think those shoulder pads look kind of awesome. I'm sure they're bulky and heavy, but we probably need to take into consideration that Neltharion is probably very, very strong. So he's like, this is nothing. These are like feathers on my shoulders. So, Nosdormu, Alexstraszi, Ysera. I don't want to bring attention to the fact that it seems like these two are wearing perhaps a little bit more than they have in the past. Some people have pointed that out, and I'm just like, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, okay, whatever. No, I don't think that's a big deal. Some people think it's a big deal, because of the whole recent stuff with Blizzard. I'm like, whatever. That's not something that's going to bother me, like it apparently is going to bother other people. If it really bothers you, that's on you, But here we see Malygos. I don't recall ever actually seeing Malygos in his humanoid form here. His visage.
Guided by Alexstraszi, our conscience, our heart, we all became as close as clutchmates, or so it seemed.
I like how it seems here as if he's a little bit more reclusive at this point already. He's already kind of... Now, I've heard someone, I think it was maybe Noble, who brought up whether or not he was already being talked to before this happened. If maybe the old gods and N'Zoth were already talking and whispering to Deathwing, Neltharion, even before they became the Aspects, even before the big battle with Galakrond. It doesn't seem to indicate that. Now, maybe that's a retcon. I don't know. Or maybe they're just addressing it or telling the story here a different way. Maybe, of course, we have to remember, this is Nosdormu telling this story to Emberthal. So, what he is choosing to tell her could be selective. He could be either, maybe he personally does not know that, or he is holding that back for some reason, or thinking, she doesn't really need to know that. What I also like here, you can see what looks like the tentacles, showing the corruption, the old gods, N'Zoth, and all that. Really cool little visual indicator there.
Brother
and of course, we know about this story here, the battle that took place at the time of the Sundering with the battle between the dragons and the Burning Legion, because we saw this in the dungeon. How many of you remember those 3 dungeons that we played at the end of Cataclysm, which led into the Dragon Soul raid, which was basically our way of trying to get the actual Dragon Soul weapon and be able to get it to use against Deathwing in the Dragon Soul raid. So I like that here we're getting to actually see that here. I don't remember them showing that moment there, but it's still a cool visual seeing him just kind of standing there, like almost like rallying them or talking to them. So, and of course, there's the Dragon Soul. I still have to go back and do that raid often because I still have not gotten any of the mounts in that. Also here, now he starts to look a little bit more like the Deathwing that we actually know. He doesn't have all the plates on him, but you can just tell, like, the difference between how he looks here. Yeah. Like, it's subtle, but you can see the differences here compared to how he looks here. Where it just seems to very clearly make a visual distinction between who Neltharion was and who he now is as Deathwing. And then, of course, we have this shot here. This is a great shot right here. You can see just, how imposing his presence here. Very reminiscent of the Cataclysm cinematic when he lands on Stormwind, except without the plates and such. But, I mean, you can even see the fire on his wings and such. Just very cool, like, visual showing here. But what I like about this moment right here is that she is not willing to just immediately take what Nosdormu is telling her at face value. She immediately is like, hold on, that's not who I remember. How do I know that you're not the one who did this, or that you weren't the ones who, how do I know that it was not you who provoked him? That you were the ones who caused him to do that?
Who provoked him?
Now, whether or not he's telling the truth here about whether or not, look, all I'm doing is showing you the sands of time. They don't lie. They just simply show you the truths of what happened. I mean, I suppose we can try and take that at face value that actually is true, And then we get the visuals here to recap the Dragon Soul raid. And I gotta say, this encounter here, the Madness of Deathwing, this right here actually looks cooler than what we actually saw in the raid, personally. I mean, obviously, look, there's the fingernails that we have to attack in the raid boss fight. Yeah, like, it just looks really, really cool. But then again, I really shouldn't be surprised. I've talked about how good the visual art department for these things are.
Deathwing would have destroyed this world. To stop him...
Now, this is something right here that a lot of people have questioned and talked about and debated over the years, is that after the Cataclysm, we thought that the aspects had lost their power. What he's saying is that, they relinquished their power and their immortality and guardianship over Azeroth. But that doesn't mean that they don't have their power entirely. Obviously, Nosdormu still has the power to look into, the fates and sands of time and such, but he's not nearly as powerful as he used to be. I like to think of it more so that they got a significant power downgrade as opposed to giving it all up entirely. It's kind of similar to how when the Night Elves used the World Tree to stop Archimonde at the end of Warcraft 3, that they said that by doing so they would end up giving up their own immortality in order to stop him. And it's kind of a nice little callback here where I think Malfurion said it was a fair trade to help save the world, and Nosdormu basically says the exact same thing here.
Our guardianship of Azeroth itself. A fair trade, I believe.
Kind of similar, but not entirely.
Burden.
Now, this next part here...
There is one crucial moment that has long remained hidden from me.
That, I believe, if we recall what happened in Cataclysm, one of the other things, I mentioned the 3 dungeons we had to do. The first of those dungeons we had to do was actually helping Nosdormu with an alternate timeline, but then also dealing with the infinite Dragonflight, led by him. Or rather, his alternate evil self. I believe his name was Murazond. And that is the one thing that he has never been able to actually see, Nosdormu here, in the timeline to try and see, like, when he becomes Murozond. Now, I've heard some people already speculating and theory crafting that, is it possible he already has become Murozond here? Is this actually Nosdormu talking to us here, or is this Murozond? I'm not sure if I'm willing to go that far, but it's an interesting idea to think of, especially if they decide to do this in a very subtle way, and it's all of a sudden revealed, and he was able to hide it the whole time. If they do it right, I could buy that, but I don't know. It seems a little off for me, but I guess I'll have to wait and see. But if this is kind of what we're leaning towards here,
And only you can lead me there.
if apparently only the Drakthir, or maybe Emberthal specifically, but I think he's more so referring to the Drakthir themselves, that somehow they're going to be able to help him actually find that moment in the sands of time, so he can learn and find out when he turns into Murozond, if maybe he can find a way to prevent that from happening or stop it from happening. Like, whether or not the things from Cataclysm are being retconned or changed, I'm not sure if that's what's happening right now. Obviously, we just went through a whole bunch of retcon stuff in Shadowlands. We went through a whole bunch of that in Shadowlands just now. I don't think they are going to throw a whole bunch of that at us again in this expansion right afterwards, because I think they heard a lot of us were not happy about that, and I don't think that they are like, yeah, let's just throw more retcon stuff at them. I would like to think that they are going to give us a break from that and just kind of like do something different instead of just straight up retcon stuff from the past, but I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, I'm very interested in where these are going, and how this is also going to tie into what we're doing in the pre-patch. In a couple weeks, we will have playable Drakthir, and I will try and also give you guys coverage on that. At the moment, there is still, I don't think there is anything new that has been added to the pre-patch in terms of a pre-patch event or anything like that. I'm still waiting to see and find out if there is. There are other things I could do during the pre-patch to kind of like, for more WoW content. Like, I can go back to my Worgen Rogue and show you guys the rest of that Rogue Order Hall from Legion, even though the class changes have happened and I'm just like, oh gosh, what do I do with this class now? But anyways, if there's anything more until the next chapter of Legacies, I will show it to you. Otherwise, probably the next time, if they don't add anything else, or if there's nothing else that I find interesting, then I'll probably see you guys for the next chapter of Legacies. Until then, stay tuned.